Chiếc xe phía sau mình đây, mình chỉ bỏ ra đúng 25 triệu để mua. Vì sao rẻ vậy? Nó từng bị tai nạn nặng ở phần đầu. Nhưng với kinh nghiệm săn xe cũ, mình thấy đây là một kèo thơm. Xe này là đời 2012, Ford Focus hatchback, chỉ mới chạy hơn 116.000 km. Trước đây là xe gia đình, do bà ngoại được công ty McDonald's tặng khi về hưu, nghe rất lạ nhưng có thật đấy. Sau đó, xe được chuyển lại cho con gái, và chẳng may bị một chiếc xe máy 4 bánh tông vào phần đầu.
Which the area where I live in Florida, it's not really that big of a surprise, but kind of weird that a four-wheeler did this amount of damage. $1,000 is pretty cheap considering the miles on this thing. I definitely wouldn't have paid any more for that, and if this thing had any more damage, definitely wouldn't be worth it. This looks to be pretty bad. If you look underneath, you can see a bit more that's a little concerning, but the frame is straight, no airbags are blown, seatbelts are okay. This car makes for a very good candidate, and I think the color is what really sets it off. I really like this color. Don't see it too often. And what also makes this a very good candidate is there are a bunch of these around. There's so many in the junkyards near me. So finding parts for this car is going to be easy and I think very cheap. Also, I'm going to see how many days it takes for me to rebuild this car. This is day
Ngày 1, khởi đầu lúc 13 giờ chiều, trời nắng gắt. Kiểm tra sơ bộ, gãy càng lái, rụng két nước, lọt nhớt do móp lọc nhớt. Ưu tiên sửa để lăn bánh được, thay lọc nhớt, thay rô tùn lái, kiểm tra ECU.
First off, we'll start with the front end damage. It looks pretty bad, but it missed the frame, and all this stuff is pretty easily replaceable. No pulling on the frame, no spot welds I'll have to take off or cut out or anything. Just a lot of unbolting and replacing it with new parts. Front bumper, headlight, hood, moving to the fender, this mirror, and a little bit of damage on this door. Hopefully I can fix this door and save a bit of money doing that. Worst case, I'll have to replace that door, but I believe I can save it. Also in the front end, you can see where it pushed in the radiator and condenser. All that is gonna have to be replaced. You can also see the computer hanging down below. This car still powers on and starts, so I know nothing got damaged in that, but I will need to find the box that kind of protects that. Opening the hood, everything this thing off the trailer along with the oil filter. Walking over to the driver's side of the vehicle, like I said, this fender needs replaced, this door hopefully I can fix. Mirror needs replaced. All this other stuff though is in really great shape. The tires are only a couple years old. A little bit of a ding in this quarter panel. Not sure if that's gonna be worth repainting this whole side of the car to fix. And a little filter replaced, get all that stuff taken off in the front end, and then work on that tie rod, getting that fixed so we can get this thing off the trailer. Apologies that the fan is really loud. It's just miserably hot out right now. I'm gonna work on taking this front bumper off, make sure there's nothing behind it that's really messed up, and then we can work on everything else. There's a little bit of oil in it, at least. Right there. Nice slice. Nothing leaking out. That should be fixed. This is bent right around that. Look at that. A little bad. Gotta get that boot off. Wheels look pretty straight. I'm gonna have to do an alignment whenever I get it all situated, but that's no big deal. Finished it just in time because it's about to pour. Battery is dead. Luckily I have my jump box. This thing has helped me out so much, even when I was in Daytona, I gotta use it. It's not wanting to start, and I'm willing to bet something I unplugged up here when I was taking off this front end. The computer's right here and this plug comes off of it, so, and that one. But we can push this thing off and be just fine. I forgot to press record, but push it in here, pretty easy. Brakes work at least, so that's good. Speaking of things I forgot to do, I forgot to take a thumbnail picture before I started tearing it all apart. That's unfortunate because that means I have to push it back out and kind of piece it back together enough for a thumbnail. We'll have to do that tomorrow because it is raining out.
Ngày 2. Gỡ cản, đèn, nắp capo, vẻ bị móp. Lập danh sách đi bãi xe cũ để kiếm phụ tùng.
Alright, I believe that's everything I need to take off. I got a list of everything I need at the junkyard. Hopefully my local junkyard has everything. If not, I'll have to drive a little bit further to find something. Hopefully not. I'm also going to take some of the stuff that I get core charges for, like the fender and the hood. I'll also take the radiator and condenser, get that swapped out. Should be able to save money like that. Pulling up to the first junkyard. They're supposed to have like 3 or 4 of my cars there. We'll see. Hopefully so. Looks really busy today, which is unfortunate. This one might be a good candidate. A little bit. Yeah, this one looks like it has everything. Front bumper's okay. All that looks okay. A couple dings. This fender. Yeah, I might take everything off of this one. Oh, everything's loaded up. Barely had enough room. Total price was $280.61, which is a really good deal. I don't think I could have bought a brand new hood for that, so I think overall it's a good deal, and I pretty much got everything I needed. Got the radiator condenser, the lower radiator support, the upper radiator support, and the bumper impact bar. All of it complete. They are a couple different colors. I had to piece together from different cars. This one's red, this one's silver, but we can get that painted and looking right. More plastic that was messed up on mine. Both the fender flares, driver's side fender, the hood, the mirror, a complete front bumper minus the emblem grille, but this one's still good on this bumper. And lastly, the computer box. Got that all in one piece. Everything's good. I'll have to find an orange color that matches this pretty closely. Maybe I can find some spray paint because this isn't seen very much, but I do want it to match and not be completely different colors. And for the main body panels, I'm gonna get the actual color. Either I'm gonna take this bumper and get it color matched, or find the paint code and get that made. Usually I would order that online, but I'm trying to get this done in a few days, so I'm gonna go to the store and pick up all that stuff. Go ahead and piece this radiator back together on the car, maybe get it running again. This got bent just a little bit. Bend it right back into place. Before and after.
Ngày 3. Tới bãi phụ tùng gần nhà. Nhặt được gần như đầy đủ mọi thứ cần thay với giá chỉ 280.000, giả định đổi đơn vị. Gồm nắp capo, ve trái, két nước, dàn lạnh, cản trước, gương chiếu hậu, hộp EQ.
The front end is back together. It wasn't too complicated. If this was in a harder wreck, I think that would cause a bit more issues. But since I didn't have to pull anything out, the frame wasn't bent, all this went back together pretty easily. I painted these replacement pieces. They were red and silver. I need to repaint them orange to match the rest of this. I think I matched it pretty well with the spray paint. I think it looks really good, actually. Maybe a little too good. I haven't recharged the AC or added coolant back to it. The reason for that is I cannot get this thing started. I hooked everything back up because that's what I thought the original issue was, for it not turning over. So I hooked up my code reader, and it unfortunately says that it's not being able to communicate with the computer. I did start it before I put it on the trailer when I bought it. I knew it ran then. Well, never mind. I fixed it. This plug was unplugged, so that's all fine in there. I'm not gonna mess with that. It's running now, so that's all I was worried about. So now I can at least back it out of here. That saved me a big headache. I was really worried about that. But I'm gonna have to push this thing back outside and go ahead and paint the underside of the hood along with the inside of the fender and a couple other little pieces. Get all that painted and give it dry time so I can flip it all over and paint the other side once I put it all back on the car. Well, I know it drives at least.
Ngày 4. Bắt đầu ráp lại xe. Sơn lại các chi tiết thay thế bằng sơn cam 3 lớp, chi cốt, khá mắc nhưng đúng màu.
It looks like it's going to be a pretty close match. It looks pretty good. Obviously, it's a bit shinier, but it's pretty good. I'm going to pull this car back in, put the hood on, put the fender on, and then sand down all that stuff, get it ready for paint. I'm going to be painting this door, blending it out to about halfway. Obviously, got to fix these dents and stuff too, but we're painting this whole door, maybe a portion of this panel.
Gắn lại kết nước, chỉnh thẳng phần đà bị móp nhẹ.
So got to paint that, and probably blending out this fender as well. Maybe this. All the gaps line up really perfect, really good actually. Gonna work on these dents right here. Got a dent right here, decent sized dent, and some scratches down this way, and then a couple little dings on the fender. Need to get those fixed, body filled, and then primed before I lay the base coat. After doing any kind of body work, you always want to add some primer. I use high build primer or 2K primer. That covers up all those little pinholes and sand scratches that you see, and that will completely smooth it out after you sand it all back down again. Always want to make sure you add primer over any kind of body work, or it's going to show through the base coat. The primer I use is Eastwood's 2K aerosol spray. I got this one in a can because there's not that much body work to cover. Usually I have a lot more, and this one can covered quite a bit. I got the whole door covered, the whole fender, and like half the hood. I filled in a lot of the sand chips up in the front. This primer even covers that. And then one little chip on this fender over here. All that covered and sand down, now it's time to wash this thing and get it prepped and ready for paint. All taped up, ready to go. A couple things I forgot to mention about the paint. This is what's called a tri-coat. That means there's a base coat, and the second coat is a pearl coat, and then the last coat is the clear coat. It's pretty much the same as normal painting, you're just adding an extra 2 layers of base coat. Tri-coats are generally way more expensive, so that's unfortunate for me in a cheap car, but they do look pretty good. I think they look good, but they are more expensive. First thing I'm gonna do is wipe it all down, clean it up, make sure there's no dust or anything on there. Also gonna spray the plastic pieces with adhesion promoter, so the bumper and the mirror. I'm gonna spray that with this stuff that helps the paint stick and last a little bit longer. And then lastly, wipe it all down with a tack cloth before I actually start spraying. This is gonna pick up all the dust and little particles on the surface. Also gonna take a bucket of water and dump it on the ground around me. That way when I'm walking around the car painting and pulling this hose, I'm not stirring up any dust. All this is gonna settle right into the water. All this is ready to go. Let's get the painting before it gets dark out and the bugs come out.
Ngày 5. Sơn phần vỏ xe, xử lý móp cửa, làm đồng nhẹ, sơn lót. Dán che chuẩn bị sơn. Sơn lớp nền, lớp ngọc trai, rồi lớp bóng. I think the AC compressor's bad. That sucks.
most of the outside put back together. I'm going to wait another day before I put the bumper all back together. Just give it another day to fully dry and cure. That way I'm not tearing the paint or anything. Need to put the fog lights in, all the grills, and then the lower valance. Need to get all that installed. Also need to put in the new used fender liners. I got new ones of those at the junkyard. Need to put those in. And lastly, on the outside, I bought new windshield trim. Couldn't find any good ones at the junkyard, so I had to buy them brand new. That set me back like $60, but I think it should be worth it. Until all that dries, I'm gonna work on the interior. Gotta clean it out. A lot of sand, a lot of dirt. Maybe I'll try to clean up the steering wheel. The chrome is starting to peel back a little bit. And also, I got a brand new radio for all this. This screen's a little messed up, and I think it's time for an upgrade. This right here is my favorite tool for cleaning out a car. Gonna work on this seat next. It's just from the two front seats.
Ngày 6. Gắn toàn bộ cản, đèn, logo, lưới tản nhiệt. Vệ sinh nội thất, bọc ghế, thay radio có màn hình cảm ứng camera lùi. Xử lý lỗi điều hòa, kiểm tra kỹ thuật. Thay mấy thứ nhỏ, viền kính, cần gạt mưa, đèn biển số.
Installing a backup camera on hatchbacks are a little bit more difficult than regular sedans. I ran a wire all the way to the back, around through this grommet all the way to the back hatch and take all this apart. Cleaned up all the wires, had to add another wire all the way back through to the grommet down to the reverse light. Splice into that right here. Also add a ground, and then lastly, just plug in the camera. And that should work. Also need to add a little bit of silicone around here so no water gets into the hatch, and put everything back together. See, I hate this kind of tint because it just took up all this heating element, so now the rear defrosters will not work. Something to consider when you're tinting your back window with the defrosters. Luckily in Florida, you don't really use them too often. It's just something you'll have to deal with cheap tint. Just finishing up some final little touches on this car, replacing some pieces that need to be replaced, and also fixing some things that really stand out a little bit. This back bumper had a little bit of a rash on it. The plastic was showing through on the bumper, so I went ahead and taped it up. Threw a little bit of spray paint on there. It's not gonna be perfect, but it does look a little bit better. Moving up to the front, I replaced these windshield trim pieces. I could not find these used anywhere, and they seem to be a common issue to fall apart, so I found these on Amazon. Also up in the front, I blended the A-pillars with some clear coat and matched the paint a little bit. That required some wet sanding and buffing out to make it perfect again. This color around the car matches so well. This is probably one of my better blend jobs and clear coat jobs. The clear coat I painted is actually a bit better than the OEM clear coat. I might have made it a little bit too perfect. I think it looks really good, and I don't believe anyone is gonna notice or be able to tell that this car was in a front-end collision. Overall, I'm very happy with how it turned out, and this car was a pretty easy flip and fix. It took 6 days total to get this car right back on the road, which for by myself doing everything, fixing the suspension, all the paint work, all the body work, all the videoing, all the editing, I think that's a pretty quick turnaround. I'm not in an actual body shop. This is all out of my garage. I don't have a fancy paint booth where I can make the paint dry in a couple hours. So that in turn really delays some of my work, having to wait for this paint to dry just naturally. But I'm happy with where I am right now, and I think it turned out really awesome for a garage paint job. Now let's go ahead and break down the full cost of what it took to get this thing back on the road. To start off, I paid $1,000 for this car.
Tổng chi phí, mục giá, mua xe 25 triệu.
So I took the gamble. You saw that I spent
Phụ tùng bãi 7 triệu.
at the junkyard. That was for pretty much all the used parts that I needed. I got a new fender, a new hood, new bumper, a lot of the pieces underneath the bumper, like the radiator support, front bumper impact bar, and a lot of the plastics that I needed. You're not gonna get anything like that cheap, brand new. Finding a pick and pull junkyard where you can go out, find the parts you need, pull it yourself, save a lot of money doing that. Having to buy brand new would have really ate into my budget. So I'm happy to save a lot of money that way. I did end up buying brand new headlights. Those were $75.
Đèn pha mới 1.5 triệu. Tai rốt, càng lái, 800.000. Viền kính mới 1.6 triệu. Màn hình Android cam lùi 3 triệu.
I think it's going to be a good selling point. The reason why people like buying newer cars is the technology inside. Having Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, having really fancy technology in the inside is a big selling point for the newer cars. So having this in an older car, I think it's well worth it. That new radio was $130, which I think is really cheap considering all that it can do. And it was very easy to install. It only took about 20 minutes. Backup camera is where it takes a lot of time. That took about an extra 45 minutes to install. This radio is really great, and I think it's well worth putting the extra money into. And lastly, the most expensive thing I bought was the paint. Like I said, this is a tri-coat, so paint's going to be a little bit more expensive. For the base coat and the clear coat was $430.
Sơn chi cốt vật liệu 10 triệu. Tổng cộng ngã 49 triệu.
Not gonna add that in total price, but if you wanted to, you can add another $20 or $50. So with everything, the car, all the parts it took to fix it, the paint, everything was $2,021. Overall, I think that's very cheap, and you're not gonna find a car like this for that price. But I'm not gonna be keeping this car. I am gonna be reselling it. I'm gonna drive it around for a week or two before I list it for sale. I just wanna make sure this thing is in perfect working shape. I don't wanna sell it to someone and it break down a couple months later. Really wanna check this thing over and make sure everything is working properly. Speaking of everything working properly, I mentioned earlier that the AC wasn't working. On my test drive, that actually started working again. I guess it just wasn't working while it was just idling, so went on test drive and it blows ice cold. Don't have to worry about that. No lights on the dash. Everything is working and shifting properly. Overall, this is a very good car. Checking the comps in my area, this is a 2012 Ford Focus with 116,000 miles. It's hard to find a hatchback that same year with this amount of miles on it, but looking around, I see ones that are a couple years older, right around the same amount of miles, going for around $4,000 all the way up to $5,000. They are a bit newer, but I believe mine is in way better shape. Everything is working properly. It looks a lot better than a lot of these other cars. So I think a safe asking price is
Dự kiến bán xe cùng đời, cùng ở đợi, hiện đang giao từ 80 đến 95 triệu. Xe mình đẹp, máy lạnh tốt, nội thất sạch, công nghệ mới mình sẽ giao 89 triệu, lời khoảng 40 triệu sau 6 ngày làm.
I do really love this color. It kind of looks like the Subaru Crosstrex a little bit. But this car is complete. It's done. Overall, 6 days of work. Not too bad. Like I said, I'm going to drive it for a week or so, make sure everything's working properly. I also ordered some new windshield wipers and just regular maintenance stuff I want to get fixed before I
Mọi người thấy giá bán có hợp lý không? Bạn có sẵn sàng mua chiếc xe đã từng tai nạn nếu được sửa kỹ như này không? Bạn muốn mình thử làm với xe nào tiếp theo?